In this next video, I'll be going over how to use a server-side include. Okay, so let's start off with what a server-side include is. I'll let you read this. There's lots of resources online in which you can find out exactly what a server-side include is. There's different types of server-side includes. Server-side execs, server-side echo. Okay, so essentially what a server-side include is it allows you to request information from the server. So within the HTML document itself, you may not have some sort of static information along the lines of a date, a time, some sort of variable, but the server may have this information. So what that server-side includes is it allows us to save time by requesting information from the server itself. You can configure this with an Apache server, and any type of server tool can be used for this. But the most common type of server-side include is the server-side include itself, in which you request a file or a virtual. So let me just demonstrate you how to use a server-side include. And this is going to be quite important for you to follow along because you'll be using it for your homework. So let's start off here. I've got a blank HTML document here. Now let's just start off with the basic stuff that you'll need. Okay, let's just give it a paragraph here. Okay, so just follow along with me. Here's a paragraph. Let's just give it, how many paragraphs? 3 paragraphs. Just give it 3 paragraphs here. I'm using a tool right now called Text Expander to just quickly fill all of this out for me. Okay, so now that I have my HTML document here, it's got 3 long paragraphs here. So it's got 3 long paragraphs here. Now essentially what I want to do is, let's pretend like I have a footer, that you have a consistent footer along every page. Now what would you typically do? What you would typically do is go down to the bottom of your HTML document, somewhere before the end of the body tag, you would type in footer, and then insert something along the lines of, the most common thing you know, this is a footer. I'm just going to style this in line. Shouldn't normally do this, but I'll just do it here. And then here we go. So in my document here, I have a consistent footer. Let's see if you can make sure you can see this. Okay, so there's my footer. It's at the bottom of my page. Now pretend I have multiple pages. Pretend this is the home page, or this is just one of many pages. It would be a pain to include the footer inside every page. Why it's a pain is something along the lines of a footer needs to be, I wouldn't say it needs to be, but oftentimes it's consistent. The footer is oftentimes consistent throughout your page. And the problem with a consistent footer is that when you want to make an edit, on your footer, you typically have to modify the footer on every single page, from your home page, your About Me pages, your store page, and every other page that goes along with it. You have to make an adjustment to the footer, right? You have to change some text here, some information, and it's actually a really big pain to change something that has to be consistent on every page. So what a server-side include is, we can get rid of all this, and it can be much longer than this. Just delete this, and that's it. Okay. They do something weird here. This right here is the code you need to have it server-side include. The odd thing is why they chose it to look like this. I'm not quite sure, but essentially what it is it's an HTML comment. Normally, this is used exclusively for an HTML comment, right? Like anything that you write within this will not be read normally by the HTML document. However, it can be used for the server-side include command. So it just goes like an HTML content with hashtag include file equals and then the file name. I've yet to create the file name here, so let's just do it here. Now here I'm simply gonna paste in exactly what I would have had in my footer. And one thing to note is to use server-side includes, instead of using the .html file extension, you use the shtml file extension. The S stands for server. Sometimes people like to remember it as secure, but it's supposed to be for server. I always like to think of it as secure because it makes me think of SHTTP. Just so I can remember. But aside from that, it doesn't really matter. It's the SHTML file extension. Not quite, but it depends on how the server is configured. Sometimes it is good practice to actually change the the file in which you work in also to the SHTML file extension. So as you can see here, my index file is SHTML, my footer is SHTML. There's really no harm into just naming it SHTML to begin with. Okay, so that's a demonstration. Now you upload this information to the server and it will essentially look exactly like that. However, the issue you may encounter is, and I've encountered it here, at least running it through Chrome, is my footer doesn't quite appear into my document. However, I assure you that once you put it into a server, that the footer will be there, the files will be there, and it'll look something along the lines of this. Now it won't look like this because this is actually me just kind of playing around with it. But this is my footer, and I promise you that let me see if I can view it here. Yeah, so in the file that I had it here, where it says, okay, now that I'm inspecting it, it says footer, this is the footer. In the actual HTML document that I wrote, there was no, footer here. What it was this. The command for the server-side include. However, the server reads the HTML document, sees this, finds that file, footer.shtml, inserts it here, and I end up with this, where the footer appears. Now you can use this for a footer, you can use it for a nav, you can use it for a header, you can use it for basically about anything that you want to stay consistent upon your web pages, and this is an incredibly useful tool.